Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Miyuki and this is Let's Make Art, and we are doing a lettering project together. This one, we are doing it on black paper. So if you don't have black paper, it's okay. You can still do this with us and just use a different colored gel pen. But this is the project. Sorry, Keenan, you can do your...
It's okay.
That was a good transition.
It's like a suave black. I get really
oh.
excited with,
I wish
like
you could
black
see Keenan.
paper. Is this...
His dance moves. So we're doing this project, and the quote is, "I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night." If you have a different quote, you can do that, but I'm going to go through that. The supplies that I'm using are black paper. So this black cardstock comes in your box if you have it, or you can buy this as a kit if you just like to get that. And there are two different pencils that I'm going to be using. This is a white. This is not the right one. This is a different one. I was trying, you guys can see. In your box, I was going through two different ones, but I didn't really like that one, so I included Scrap Fake Out. It's basically the same thing, but ignore that.
Why did you change your preference?
Okay, so the reason why, that's a great question. So when I'm designing these boxes for you, I'm just gonna go off script. When I design these boxes for you guys, I try out a couple different types of supplies for you to see what works best. And so for this one, you guys saw that we did the black gift bags, and those had kind of a clear, weird coat on it. And so I realized when I used this one, they're both white chalk or colored type of pencils. I don't really know exactly. This says paper, glass, plastic, metal. So this was the better one. Was this the one that we ended up using? Now I can't even remember.
Ooh, this is awkward.
I swear it was this one. Anyways, whichever one was the right one. Now I can't remember which one, because they both, so the problem was that they work great on this paper, but if you do a different type of surface, they don't work really well.
Perfect.
I don't remember which one it was now, but they both work whichever one you have. Also, if you just have a colored pencil kit, maybe you have a bunch of kids and you have a box of colored pencils, you can just use a white colored pencil. Or chalk, but I will show you why chalk might be a little bit annoying because of the chalk dust. So a pencil is great. So that's that supply. And then we're gonna be using a white gel pen, which I believe this might be the first time we're using this together. We've used the silver gel pen or the gold gel pen. I'm gonna also use a pencil, and that's it. So those are supplies, these steps. So this is a practice worksheet that I made for you guys. You can download on our website at letsmakeart.com. So the first step is we're gonna go through the practice worksheet. I'm gonna show you a couple different styles you can play with. The second step is we're gonna go through thumbnail sketches. So this is what I like to do when I start to design things. The third one is a grid paper, that this also comes in your kit. I'm gonna show you how I like to lay this out to get myself started. Fourth step is the white pencil to lay it out on your paper. And then the fifth step is gel pen. Oh, and sixth step I added was adding details around to the stars and the moon that we're gonna go over. Okay, let's jam. Step one, different styles. So with lettering, as you guys have seen, there's so many different styles. You don't have to do a specific cursive style if you don't like that. I wanted to show a couple different ones, and then we'll go over another cursive or script type of style. But the first one is this one, where you guys can see that it's a mix of a block and a bubble, but essentially they look like they're hollow inside. So a great way to start out is to start like I did here. Oh, that S was a little curved. Oh, I need to warm up a little bit.
I think all S's are curved.
Okay, fine. Slanted. Thanks, Keaton. It's a slanted S. I'm gonna start over. So you start with, and I'm just using a pencil, my letters. And then for this one that I did differently, as you can see, is I added serifs. So serifs are little, think of them as little feet or little extensions on the ends of your letters. So this is a style. You'll notice if you start typing on sometimes Times New Roman or different fonts have these little types of serif legs. So I did that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna draw around them. So I'm looking at my pencil line and I'm gonna draw on the outside of it. And I'm going to eyeball a similar space between my skeleton, as Keenan likes to call it.
Yes.
And then this is a big eraser. But what you're going to do is you're going to erase, whoops, the inside. So it leaves your letters looking, like I said, like this is hollow. You want to darken that a little. So that's how you would do that. So you can do that throughout. And then if you don't want the serif letters, if you just want either bubble, you can do the same thing as draw your first letter, or draw your letter just normally. So you draw the skeleton and then outline like that. So you just won't have the little notches or the feet or the serifs at the end. So those are two different styles you can play with. And if you're good at it, you can go for it. The skeleton is just a way to help out if you're starting to build up that muscle memory. So it's a great way to practice it. Okay, this one, let's see. I did it where, and I like to do this style where you add, like you're doing foligraphy, so you'll notice that on certain spots of this, they're whiter and thicker. So for this one, I'm going to leave a little bit more space than I normally would in between the letters, because if I naturally were to just write, I would write them like that. So I'm gonna leave a little bit more space in between. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add the thicker downstrokes, but I'm not going to color them in. I'm just adding a line like that. And I'm leaving them open. So by having a little bit of space in between, that makes it easier on the eye than if I were to do it here. It would all be really squished, so you wouldn't even really get to see the beauty of the style that you're creating. The one difference that I wanted to point out, because if you've watched my foligraphy video and you've heard me talk about curves, which is something that I note in that video, is on this particular style, I decided not to have it be a moon type of shape and a curved, because when I've talked about curves before, I've talked about it where you want to have it shaped like that. So personal preference, you can do that. I realized on this one I didn't, just because this is what this whole style is. I left it open. I'm not going for that thin and thick look. This is just a personal preference type of style. So I did that, and then I added some, if you want to add some dots, you can add some stripes. This was actually a similar style to what we did for our Let's Make Art Matter for Gary for November. So if you want to learn more, a little bit more about that, I do it in there. The last one is, this is foligraphy. So again, I'm just doing this with my pencil. I realize I could have done this with my pen, but
hindsight.
It still works. I love my pencil. And for this one, you'll notice that I drew you guys angled lines. And so this is what my S started out with, was it was a little bit slanted and angled. So this will help if you are trying to work up that muscle memory to gain more of that type of style. We also have a beginner lettering series that's called Angle Lettering, that there's a practice sheet you can download to practice that. But this way you can angle it. And then for this one, I thought about when my hand was going up and then was going down, I did the same thing like I did here. However, when I drew this line next to it, I just colored it in. So same thing here, I'm just gonna add a line, but then I'm gonna color it in. This is a really great style if you just have a regular pen and not a brush pen, like we're going to have with our gel pen. So you just color it in like that. So those are the three different styles that we were practicing throughout this one. You'll notice on my final one, I had a couple different type of styles, so that's why I wanted you guys to practice before you went to your final one. Okay. Then, when you have a long quote like this, it is really helpful to do thumbnail sketches. This is something that I learned actually in school when I went to school for graphic design, because it helped get all those ideas out of your head onto paper. You can choose to not do this part if you don't want to, but I want to walk you through it really quickly. Is think about, since you have such a long quote, maybe you write it out at the top. And then there are a few ways you can think about this. One way is you can think about, hold on, let me finish this. If I try and multitask. Okay, so I just wrote out the quote. And you can look at it, and are there any words that you would want to emphasize? Keenan, out of this quote, if you didn't know, I've loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of night. Is there any word that you would think you'd want emphasized? Can you read my handwriting?
I can-ish read your handwriting.
I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Or any word or part of the.
Do I have to choose the correct one or
No,
ones that stick
no.
out to me?
What sticks out to you? This is all personal preference.
Okay, I would say loved, stars, and fearful.
Love the stars and fearful. I'll make it different. I'll make this one based on that. Okay. Did you say fearful or just fearful of the night?
Fearful.
Okay. So when you have that, you can either decide, do I want to emphasize it by the style or the size of the lettering? Or maybe if you have different gel pens, you can do it in a different color. So those are ways that you can do that. However, it's really helpful if you have all these ideas in your head and coming at you. Why don't you use this paper and get them all out? And then you can see which one that speaks to you once you do that. So maybe if you have, I have loved the stars. Let me try by size. So loved the stars. So again, the reason why they're called thumbnail sketches is that they are, let's see, small, quick sketches. Fearful. So I just kind of had a rectangle type of style, and I just decided to emphasize them by size. So loved the stars and fearful were the words that Keenan picked, and I made those a little bit bigger. You'll notice when I realized that I had 2B, I just added lines here, and maybe I'll do that here. Because I remember on this one what I did was they all kind of fell, and I just had it be whiter, so it fills out this rectangle type of shape. So maybe I'll do something like that. Another great way to experiment, if you don't want to do it straight, you can draw yourself maybe some diagonal lines. I did this on the Bloom Where You're Planted project from our brush pens box. So you can do that, and maybe you try out, it's in script. And let's see. So maybe if I were to do this, the parts that Keenan likes, maybe I'd make this a really thicker style to pop out for him. To be fearful. So this is just literally my scribbles. Can you read that? Nope. Neither can I. So those are different ways. For this one, I think I'm just gonna jump off of this. You guys can take your time and fill out all the squares. Like I said, you can also play with different colors if you want to do that. But I'm going to take this one, and then I'm going to just refine it a little bit. And I do like what I did here, and I had a moon. So I want to add a moon somewhere for him. So I think this was the problem solving that I did when I did this on my own, is that you'll notice, just so I can walk you guys through it, but I'm gonna do this layout, is I realized that if my moon was so low right here, I thought it'd be cool if I had 2 lines that it filled. So that's why I had these more right justified, added the moon right here, and stars was emphasized. So instead, I might, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have his moon up here, might look more like a sun.
That's okay. Squigglies in there, no rays. Could be a moon.
Could be a sun.
As a star.
But yes, but I'm gonna do that for him just to kind of play with a different layout, and then that way I have loved the. So I think for this one, I'm going to do his style. I'm going to make this a thicker style so it pops out. In addition to it being larger, I'm going to play with the style of that. And then I'm going to mix it up and do cursive or script style. Maybe I'll make these dots. So I'm thinking of the word fearful. So another thing that you can start to do is, do you play with creating not emphasis on the word, but creating a different personality behind it. So when I think of the word fearful, I for some reason think of squiggly lines, like it's shaking, but I'm not going to do that because I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
But that's what I think of. But I was trying to think of a script style might be too perfect. Maybe it's just angled. Fearful. Just to kind of play with it. So this is your guys' time to shine and do your own different styles. And, okay, I've loved the stars too fondly to be fearful tonight. Okay, so I'm going to go off of this one. I feel good with that. I'm just going to play with the different styles. Now, step 3, grid paper. If you see a faint ghost line, I just reused the grid from the menu project that we did together a few weeks ago. So you can do that if you have that. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this to help me out, and I'm going to trace, I should mention first, this big cardstock that you guys get in your box is 8.5 by 11. So what I did was I used a scrapbook cutter. We actually have this one on our website if you don't have one, or you can just use scissors. But I used that, I cut this in half. So then I had 2. You can also do this on a big one, but I thought it might be cool to have 2 to create. So I'm just going to outline this. This is a step that, again, all of these are different steps that you can choose. If they don't work for you, don't do it. It's okay. I won't be offended. I also won't know, so it's okay. But I just wanted to help you guys and show you and break it down, because I know that when you look at this, you might think, I just can't do that. I'm going to throw my hands up in the air and never try. So what are little steps that you can do to get yourself to get there? And I want to help show you those. So that's what this is for. Was I doing something?
I was just noticing that you did in fact go past the line that I drew for you. But
barely.
Just barely. That's why I didn't mention it. That's why I didn't mention it.
I just saw him shimmying in the back and it caught my eye.
Shimmying.
Making some motion. Okay, he drew a line for me so that you guys can see what I'm doing. It's all for you guys. Okay, so when I did this, you can either draw yourself squares like we did in the menu project where I kind of mapped out. Oops, I'm not looking at this. I'm gonna look at this one. So you can kind of draw this self out. Maybe I'm just gonna draw myself squares just to show you guys how you can do that. So when you're doing this, know that this is not, normally when we do sketches, it's for, or pencil sketches, pencil layout sketches, it is so that we can use the light box and trace. Unfortunately, what did you call this, swab of black paper? Mm-hmm. Swab of black paper is not see-through, and so we can't do that. But this is just another step so that you can do to lay out and figure out your layout. I have loved the stars too fondly to be. So now I'm noticing that I am running out of room. So what I can do is sometimes I cheat it, and just so that I can visually see this. This is why I love grid paper. I add a line up there, or a square, row of squares, and I take one out from there. So then that feels more even to me. So that's just my base. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Okay. So this way, when I have this, I can have this right next to me. So like I said, unfortunately, you can't place this on top and trace. But this is why I love the white pencil. You also, if you don't have this, you can use a regular pencil, works totally fine. I like the white because I can see it a little bit better so my eyes aren't kind of tripping out. And this way I knew for you guys it'd be helpful to see it on the camera. So I'm gonna lightly just sketch out. This also erases. So what you can do is you can, sorry, my head might be in the way. If you want, if you have a ruler, you can also use a ruler, but I'm just gonna eyeball. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go like this and make sure that my line's about there, and that will help me know where my baseline is. I should do that darker for everyone. Is that okay? I have, so let me look at his baseline. I'm going to say this now before I go. So just so you know, is I'm drawing these when I did this, because I did this pretty quick, I realized that I don't have as much negative space around the border as I did on this one. So this one is a little bit more squished. So just know that if you want to do this style or this similar one, I would have it be a little bit more squished in so you have more breathing room around to add that border. So we are back from Zooming, and you guys saw I erased a little bit, I sketched over a few things. I just wanted to call out a few different things that I did so that you know what I did. So I laid out the entire quote, but as I got to the bottom, I realized that I was starting to get it was starting to be too long. So I wanted to make these, I made these lines a little bit shorter than I originally had on here. So I just squished them a little bit. And then on night, I remembered I did this cool thing with the H here. They can see that. Yep. And so I wanted to do that same thing. And so I did of the in a block font, and then I'm doing night in more of a cursive. So I pulled down the G, and then I still made a border. It's just a little bit tighter, but I still loved that. And then what I did at the end was I realized that my quote kind of looked like it was shifted a little bit too more to the right. And so there was a little bit more space on the left. If that happens to you, it's okay, because one, you are still in the sketching phase, so you can make some of your letters a little bit shifted this way. So like I did on the T, I'm just gonna make this top of my T a little bit more this way, and then my F, I just moved slightly that way. And then in addition, when I drew out the stars, did I say this? I did say that on camera, right? Okay. I noticed I had all this negative space, so I got really excited, and Keenan saw me get excited, where I thought to fill that space, I just drew a shooting star. So this is how you make it work. If you realize that you messed up, you can make it work. There's different ways to do that. So now on this final step, all I'm simply going to do is I'm just going to trace over my chalk or my pencil, white pencil letters. This is why I said if you use chalk for this step, the dust from the chalk might get in the way of your pen from gliding and moving. So if that's the case, I just kind of rub off a little bit to try and avoid that. And then I also want to say, to start off, if you're a little bit nervous to go for it, my trick is take the back and just draw yourself some lines. This just gets the pen glowing. It is glowing and starting. And it just helps, I don't know, it's a psychological thing, at least for me, to do that first step, and it's okay if you mess up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm, like I said, simply going to trace. If you want, you can, you don't need to actually. If you have pencil lines, you might want to do it. You might want to erase a little bit, but I'm just going to go back over it. And when you're doing this, sometimes, can you zoom in on this part, Keenan? Or do the side angle?
Yep, there.
Okay, so you can see that the line isn't a solid line. And so when you're using these gel pens, because what's happening is it's, you can't see what's going on. And I have got a little clumpy. So if that happens, you might just need to erase it, or not erase it, get a little bit off of it. But what happens is that because if you press so hard, it might just not glide throughout the whole line stroke that you're doing it. So it's okay if that happens, just go back over it. Like that, and it'll work. So I'm just not gonna press as hard. I think it's just happening more often on these ones. Oh, interesting. On this one, I realized that my H, this is why, and I've talked about this before, is it's okay if it's not the same every time, is this H on this one, I drew it where there was 2 thick lines. And on this one, I only had 1. Neither is right or wrong. They both work. So, oh, how funny. I guess it depends on what mood I'm in. This one I have the thick line on the left, and this one I have it on the right.
Maybe it's because on the left example you had the thinner line on the right of the H, so you put a double line on the left of the A.
That's totally what I did. Maybe subconsciously I totally did do that. So if this is happening a lot more than I'm used to, and it's a little frustrating. So if I draw a little bit. There, that's better. Sometimes they're a little, I don't know if the right word's finicky, but I'm going to use that word. And so you kind of have to work with them. So know if that's not you, if it's happening to you, it's not you, it's the pen. But you got to work with it, and you can make it work. You can also, I said this in the beginning, but if you want and you really love the gold or the silver gel pens, I actually have them so I can show. So these are 2 different brands. Uniball also makes a white one that you can get if you want. This is the, oh, I forgot to say this. This is the Jelly Roll. It's the size 10. So the typical one that you might see is a size 8. This is a 10, so it's a little bit thicker. But these are the 2 other gel pens that come in your box that you can use as well. That'd be pretty if someone did it in a gold or a silver one. Okay, but we're going to zoom for this entire thing. Okay, so I did the entire quote with my gel pen, and then if you saw at the very end, Keenan and I were talking about what I should do about his moon, and I decided just to color it in, and so I tried it first with a gel pen. I didn't really like how it looked, so we were trying to improvise, and then I remembered I had my colored pencil, and so I just kind of colored over it, and it moved some of the gel pen ink around, and now it looks like a moon. It worked. So that was just a fun random tip for you guys if you want to try that. Let me move all this. So a couple of things I just wanted to talk about for the details part of this is I did this once, and now I want to add a few shadows, and I want to add some stars. And this is your time also to play. You can 100% leave it like this. You can color in some of your lines if you want, but I'm going to show how I decided to add a little bit of shadows to these. So I'm going to do that on both this one and this one. And so what's perfect is that, let's say the moon is your light source. I know it's dark, so you might not see the shadow as much, but this is going to have the moon from this side, and so it's hitting these letters. and it's going to cast a shadow on the right side. I realize this is white, so you also can think of it, if you want to take it, you can think of it as a highlight, but the highlight would be on the other side. But this is more that's kind of creating depth, so it looks like it's coming off a little bit and popping off of the page. So do it here.
Which
and
that
here.
is my favorite feature.
When it looks like it pops off
Yeah,
the page.
when it like comes to life.
Comes to life. Give it some life. I love it. So I'm just adding a few lines. It's okay. Maybe you can add some here. But you'll notice that I'm not going all the way. Oh, I kind of like how that skipped a little bit. I'm not going all the way. I'm just leaving it as a little bit of a pop. Okay, train of thought. I was going to say that another way to add a shadow, so this one I had a little bit of space in between. For this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not have space between, but I'm still going to add my shadow to the right side. But I'm having it hug the line. So it slightly makes it pop off. Yeah. Okay. So I like to do mine a little bit sketchy type of lines. You can make them perfect lines as well. All personal preference. So again, I'm just lightly gliding. I'm using the white gel pen. Which one do you like, Keaton? This one, do you like the space in between, or do you like it where it's hugging? They all look a little bit different.
I actually like the space in between.
Yeah.
More, I think. But I also think that stars pops a little more.
Yeah, they just have
probably because of the more
a thicker line.
Yeah, the thicker line.
The
white.
Oh.
Or the silver.
Okay, yeah, so those are two different ways you can play with it. And then I am going to color in my moons here, my crescent moons. I got really excited because I thought that was a cool, fun little touch. They do look like eyes. Those are my crescent moons. And then what I did was, if you notice, I erased all of my pencil lines, but on Fearful, I kind of left it. And I might even add a little bit more. I guess this was also Keenan's idea, and we had the same idea.
Oh, yeah. When you were describing how you first visualized the word fearful in your mind with the squiggly lines, like it's shaking or quaking, I was like, oh, how do I picture fearful?
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I thought of like a ghost, and I almost suggested it, but then you accidentally did it anyway. So.
Same page.
Yeah, perfect.
So that looks really cool, actually, from up top too. And if you notice, I didn't. It ended up being that the lines were a little squiggly, so it was both of them where the lines weren't perfect. I want to fix this right here. And okay, the last final step is just drawing stars and some fun spots. So you can either just draw dots in different spaces, or if there's more spots that you need to fill. For example, my eye went straight to this negative space right here. So I'm just gonna draw another star right there. This is actually how I taught Eleanor how to draw stars on our Let's Make Art Matter. But I was telling her, and this, if you have kids, you can do this too. It's just an X and then an X over it. And then what I like to do is sometimes add, you can make it look like a snowflake, and you can add dots like that. Or another way you can create different looking stars is you draw your X first, but then the next X, draw a little bit smaller. And then maybe your stars, or the snowflake goes like that. Realize maybe in this way up there in the universe, are there snowflakes? Probably not.
Probably on different planets, so we don't know that are real or not.
In my world, there will be.
Yes.
Okay, fill it in, have fun. You can make parts of it also have shadows or highlights. But there we go. It's really cool to see that this is the same take on or a different take on the same quote. And these are different ways that you can do that. We're done, guys. And I want to see what you create. So we have a Facebook group called Let's Make Art Lettering that I'd love for you to join, share what you do, and we'd love to cheer you on. And then we have an Instagram called Let's Go Make Art. Tag us in that. And I hope you had fun. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.